We're going in 3, 2, 1.
Yo, what up, everyone? Tay here. And today we have a lot I want to talk about regarding the whole slew of new leaks and scoops and rumors and reports that have been coming out regarding the upcoming Avengers films, as well as other stuff happening in Phase 6 with movies like Fantastic Four and Spider-Man 4, etc. And originally I didn't want to do another video talking about leaks again, but so many big new leaks and scoops have been coming out recently that it's just been kind of difficult not to discuss them. And one of the reasons I think so many leaks have been coming out lately regarding projects in Phase 6 is because all of these different projects like Avengers Doomsday and Spider-Man 4 are starting to go into pre-production right now. So Marvel Studios are finishing up things with the scripts for those movies, and artwork is being made and sets are being built and all that stuff. And because of that, we are starting to get this slow trickle of leaks that will probably carry on until those movies come out. And there'll be time to talk about, what's happening more with Spider-Man 4 and the Fantastic Four in some future upcoming videos. But a lot of what I want to talk about today is some of the new leaks that have come out regarding Doctor Doom and what's happening in Avengers Doomsday, as well as what Doctor Doom's role could be in some of the other Phase 6 movies, and also what's happening with Wanda and the Scarlet Witch, especially after some of the big reveals that have been happening over the last few episodes of Agatha All Along. So yeah, a lot of good stuff to get to, but first, of course, before we get into it, subscribe to the channel if you are new here and a fan of Marvel and the MCU, and don't forget to watch until the end of the video because we do have several good super thanks questions to respond to. Which, as always, if you would like to leave a super thanks with a question or a comment on this video, those really do help out the channel a lot, and I do appreciate them a lot. And I will, of course, read and respond to those at the end of the next video. So yeah, watch until the end of the video for the super thanks questions, and let's get into it.
Feeling depressed? Ask your doctor about Nexus, a unique antidepressant that works to anchor you back to your reality, or the reality of your choice. Nexus, because the world doesn't revolve around you. Or does it?
Alright, so like I said in the intro, there's been a lot of leaks dropping recently regarding upcoming projects in Phase 6, but the stuff I want to talk about in today's video is mostly stuff that ties into Doctor Doom and also the Scarlet Witch. But something I did want to just mention is that some of the leaks we've been hearing recently is that Robert Downey Jr. will not just appear as a leading role as Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, but that he will also have a small role in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, and that he might even have a small cameo appearance in Spider-Man 4. Now, I'm not super sure of what to think about him appearing in Spider-Man 4. I mean, I do think that could happen, but I'm taking that with a grain of salt. But I do think it makes a lot of sense that he would appear in the Fantastic Four movie, because based on the reports we are hearing, Doctor Doom is actually going to be a variant who comes from the same universe as the Fantastic Four. So for that reason, and to set up his origin and his backstory, and also to kind of set up his past relationship with Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four team, I do think it makes sense that he will have a small appearance in that movie to kind of set up his character, especially considering that Doctor Doom is a new addition to the MCU who has not been a part of the multiverse saga thus far. But one of the main leaks I wanted to discuss in this video is a different one that said that Elizabeth Olsen is of course returning as the Scarlet Witch, as Wanda, and that Wanda will have a very important role in both Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, and that she will share a lot of screen time with Doctor Doom, perhaps even as his lover. And if this leak is true, that Wanda is going to share a lot of screen time with Doctor Doom, and that she may even be involved in some kind of romantic relationship with Doom, then this is an obvious hint that elements of the Avengers Children's Crusade story could be adapted and play a very important role in the plot of both Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And while this is absolutely a huge deal, it also isn't a big shock to me either, because this is something that I've actually talked about several times in past videos. And even though Children's Crusade is technically an Avengers comic, really the story revolves more around the Young Avengers, specifically Tommy and Billy Maximoff, as they are searching for their long-lost mother, Wanda, who has gone missing since the events of House of M and lost her memory. And obviously the Children's Crusade story does have a lot of crossover with certain elements that we are seeing playing out currently in the MCU, specifically with what's currently happening in Agatha All Along. Because, as I'm sure most of you know, in the 2 most recent episodes of Agatha, it was just confirmed that Joe Locke's teen character is actually revealed to be Wiccan, the reincarnated version of Billy Maximoff, one of Wanda Maximoff's magically conceived twins from WandaVision. And Joe Locke playing Wiccan probably isn't a big surprise to any of you, because that's who most of us assumed he was playing all along. However, it is somewhat of a big deal now that it has been officially confirmed, because this does have big implications not just on the future of his character, but also the future of the Scarlet Witch. Because as we all know, at the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Wanda disappeared in a flash of red light as the Darkhold Castle collapsed on top of her. And according to Marvel Studios, Wanda Maximoff is said to be dead. However, I think we all know that even if that is technically the case, that Wanda's not really dead, that she's not forever dead, because we all know that she's definitely going to return, perhaps even sooner than we think, because there have been some rumors that Wanda Maximoff might make some kind of brief appearance at the end of Agatha. Now, we don't know for sure if that will happen or how exactly the show will set up her return, but it does seem pretty clear that by the end of the Agatha series that we will have a better idea of what exactly happened to Wanda and what Marvel Studios have in store for her character in the future. And if you haven't read the Children's Crusade comic, then you might be asking yourself, well, what does any of this have to do with Doctor Doom? Well, in that story, when Wiccan and the Young Avengers find Wanda, they actually find her living in Latveria and engaged to be married to Doctor Doom, with no memory of who she truly is or her past as the Scarlet Witch. So when this leak came out about Wanda having a lot of screen time with Doctor Doom in the upcoming Avengers movies, and that the two of them might even be romantically involved, it seemed pretty clear that one of the big comics that Marvel Studios would be pulling influence from for the upcoming Avengers movies would be the Children's Crusade. However, if this is true, and Marvel Studios are adapting elements of the Children's Crusade story into the plot of the upcoming Avengers movies, then another reason why this is a really big deal is because this is perhaps one of the biggest clues we could possibly get about what role Nexus beings will play in the upcoming Avengers films, and also what Doctor Doom's real plans are and how he will use those plans to ultimately take over the multiverse.
Scarlet Witch is a being of unfathomable magic. She can rewrite reality as she chooses, and is prophesied to either rule or annihilate the cosmos.
She could enslave the entire multiverse.
Alright, so something that I talked about in the last video is how in WandaVision, it was revealed that the reason Wanda is so powerful isn't just because of her enhancements from the Mind Stone, but that she was also born a natural witch because she is inhabited by an extremely powerful multiversal entity known as the Scarlet Witch. And Wanda being the Scarlet Witch is what makes her a Nexus being. And Nexus beings are beings so powerful that just their existence alone affects probability and can change the outcome of the future, and can even have ripple effects that spread out and change the larger multiverse. So, with Wanda being a Nexus being, it would make sense that Doctor Doom would be aware of who she is and why he would seek her out, just like he did in the Children's Crusade comic. Because in that story, when Wiccan finds Wanda, it's revealed that Doctor Doom didn't just come across Wanda by chance, but that he actively seeked her out as a part of a larger plan of his to steal her powers for himself. However, in the story, after Doctor Doom found Wanda, Doom and Wanda did actually truly fall in love, which then somewhat complicated Doom's bigger plans to steal her power. Now, at the end of the story, after Wanda regains her memories, Doctor Doom does end up stealing her power and then uses them in the big final battle against the Avengers, but ultimately her power is too much for him and he ends up overloading, which frees her power to return to her and also returns Doctor Doom's face to its previously scarred form. And two of the comics that we already know are going to be very influential on the upcoming Avengers films are Jonathan Hickman's Time Runs Out and Secret Wars story. And as we've talked about before, in those comics, part of Doctor Doom's big grand plan is teaming up with Molecule Man so he can ultimately trick the Beyonders, who are the ones who are behind the incursions, so he can steal the Beyonders' omnipotent powers to become a god and rule over Battleworld. So if these leaks about Wanda and Doctor Doom are accurate, then I think what Marvel Studios and the Russo brothers might be doing is mixing elements from the Children's Crusade story in with elements from Jonathan Hickman's Time Runs Out and Secret Wars story in how they create the version of Doctor Doom for the MCU. And I was actually talking about this same concept in a video that I put out a few weeks ago, where I was discussing how Doctor Doom could become a god in the MCU and the different ways that Marvel Studios could make that happen. Because something that Doctor Doom is known for in the comics is stealing other characters' powers. I mean, we've seen him steal the power cosmic from Silver Surfer, we've seen him steal the power cosmic from Galactus, we saw him steal the power of the Beyonder in the first Secret Wars comic, and then we saw him steal the power of the Beyonders in the 2015 Secret Wars story. So yeah, this whole concept of Doctor Doom stealing powers is something that's not just integral to his character, but is also integral to his role in the Secret Wars comics. And because it's such an integral part of his character and those stories, I also think it's going to be an integral part of his role in the upcoming Avengers movies in the MCU as well. And in that video I put out a few weeks ago, I speculated on the different characters or cosmic entities that Doctor Doom could steal power from in order to do that. And some of the beings I mentioned included characters like Loki, Galactus, and Alioth, but then I also went into detail about how he could steal the powers of the Scarlet Witch. And again, if these new scoops about Wanda being romantically involved with Doctor Doom are true, then it sure sounds like this is where Doctor Doom will get his godlike abilities from, just like we saw in the Children's Crusade comic story. And honestly, I think this makes more sense than Doctor Doom stealing powers from a character like Galactus or Loki, because for one thing, I think that Loki will have a different role to play in the upcoming Avengers movies that will also be extremely important. But another reason is because it seems like this has actually already been set up in both WandaVision and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Because in Multiverse of Madness, Wong reveals that according to ancient texts, that the Scarlet Witch is a being of unfathomable magic that can rewrite reality and is prophesied to either rule or annihilate the cosmos. And in Marvel Comics, there's been numerous different variations of the multiverse, and each version of the multiverse is referred to as a cosmos, such as the 7th cosmos or the 8th cosmos, etc. So when Wong says that Scarlet Witch is prophesied to rule or annihilate the cosmos, basically what he's saying is that the Scarlet Witch is prophesied to rule or destroy the multiverse. And we actually heard another prophecy that was similar to this one back in WandaVision, where during the big final battle, Agatha tells Wanda that there's an entire chapter dedicated to the Scarlet Witch in the Darkhold, which reveals that the Scarlet Witch is destined to destroy the world.
Did you know there's an entire chapter devoted to you in the Darkhold? The Scarlet Witch is not born, she is forged. It's your destiny to destroy the world.
So yeah, in not one, but two past MCU projects, we've heard these revelations about the Scarlet Witch being prophesized to destroy the world or even rule or destroy the multiverse. So I mean, I think it seems pretty obvious that Marvel Studios included these scenes as a way to foreshadow some very big events that would come up regarding the Scarlet Witch and the destructive role that she would play in future projects. However, I do, of course, have a theory about all of this. And that is, what if it's not actually Wanda that these Scarlet Witch prophecies are talking about? What if instead these prophecies are actually foreshadowing what Doctor Doom will do with the power of the Scarlet Witch? Because Marvel Studios have already turned Wanda into a villain in Doctor Strange 2, and even somewhat in WandaVision. So I highly doubt that they are going to repeat that and turn Wanda into a villain once again in the upcoming Avengers films. Plus, at the end of Multiverse of Madness, Wanda realized that what she was doing was wrong and made the ultimate sacrifice to destroy the Darkhold. So I also doubt that when Wanda does return, that she will have any desire to take over the multiverse or to destroy the world either. But Doctor Doom, on the other hand, that sounds exactly like the kind of thing that he could do. Because, like I mentioned, one of the main comic influences for the upcoming Avengers films will be Jonathan Hickman's Time Runs Out and Secret Wars comics. And in those stories, Doctor Doom's goal was to ultimately save the multiverse from the incursions, but a big part of his plan actually included speeding up the death of the multiverse by causing incursions so that he could ultimately create Battleworld to be the one reality left in the multiverse so that he could then rule over Battleworld as its god. And I do think that that's going to be pretty similar to what Doctor Doom's goal will be in the upcoming Avengers films. You know, I think that his ultimate goal is probably going to be that he is trying to reach Loki so that he can usurp him on his throne at the end of time, so that he can then become the new ruler of the multiverse. And as you guys know, because I've talked about it before, I think it's very likely that the MCU 616 universe will most likely be destroyed, probably by an incursion at the end of Avengers Doomsday, and that this incursion could be caused by Doctor Doom. And one thing you gotta remember about Doctor Doom is that he is actually a sorcerer who was taught magic by his mother, who was a witch named Cynthia Von Doom. So, with him being raised by a witch, that could kind of tie into why he would fall in love with someone like Wanda. But I also bring this up because it's important to note that Doctor Doom is well versed in the ways of magic and spells, just like other sorcerers such as Doctor Strange, or even other witches like Agatha or Wanda. So perhaps what we'll see happen in the MCU is once Wanda reemerges, that she will have amnesia just like she did in the comics, and that Doctor Doom will seek her out and use magic to place her under his influence as a part of his larger plan to take her power as the Scarlet Witch, so that he can then use that power to help him take over the multiverse. So my point is maybe in WandaVision, when the Darkhold said that the Scarlet Witch is destined to destroy the world, or in Multiverse of Madness, when Wong said that the Scarlet Witch is prophesized to rule or destroy the multiverse, that maybe these prophecies will actually be foreshadowing how Doctor Doom will destroy the world and how he will then go on to rule the multiverse by harnessing the powers of the Scarlet Witch. Now, if I am right about this, or, somewhat right, and these Scarlet Witch prophecies are actually foreshadowing Doctor Doom using the power of the Scarlet Witch to take over the multiverse, then originally Marvel Studios were likely intending to use these scenes as a way to foreshadow what was going to happen with Kang instead of Doctor Doom, because as we know, back when WandaVision came out, Doctor Doom was not who Marvel Studios were intending on being the big villain of the multiverse saga. It was going to be Kang. However, now that Marvel Studios have pivoted away from Kang to Doctor Doom, I actually think this storyline works even better because it was already Doctor Doom and not Kang who this happened with in the comics. But one other thing I should say is that if something like this does happen in the upcoming Avengers films, then one thing to note is that as a human, Doctor Doom probably isn't strong enough to fully take on the power of the Scarlet Witch because it would be too much for him to contain. So I think what would probably be more likely is that Doctor Doom would have to keep Wanda under his influence and then siphon her powers from her like a battery, just like what we saw in the comics. Because in the 2015 Secret Wars comic, when Doctor Doom tricked the Beyonders in order to steal their powers, those powers were too much for him to contain on his own, so what he did is he used Molecule Man to hold those powers like a cosmic battery, and he would then siphon those powers from him when needed.
You're so much like your mother.
Alright, so before we wrap this thing up, first, I did want to talk a little bit about how Wiccan could fit into everything we've been talking about with Scarlet Witch and Doctor Doom in the upcoming Avengers movies. Because while I don't think that the younger characters are going to have a huge role in the upcoming Avengers films, I do think that at least some of them, like Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop, and Wiccan, will have some kind of appearance in those films, and that even if those aren't huge appearances, they could still be important ones. And if we go back to around a year ago, I was saying that I thought that the Children's Crusade story would make a lot of sense to be told in a Young Avengers project. But at this point, it's looking like we probably won't see a Young Avengers project come out until after Secret Wars, once the multiverse saga is over. So what I think Marvel Studios may be doing is sort of spreading elements of the Children's Crusade story across multiple different projects. And I think what we are currently seeing play out in Agatha All Along is sort of like the first step towards that Children's Crusade story, and that we could also see elements of the Crusade story told in other upcoming projects like the Vision Quest series, that's a big one, and then some of the larger story elements of that story with the Scarlet Witch and Doctor Doom, that those could be used as a part of Wanda's bigger story arc in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. However, I should note that if Wanda does have amnesia in Avengers Doomsday and is somehow under Doctor Doom's influence, that I definitely don't think that she will stay that way throughout the entirety of both Avengers films. Because I think where Marvel Studios are most likely going with Wanda's story in those movies is for her to have a big redemption arc. Because between WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness, Wanda did some really terrible shit. So in order for the audience to ever view her as a hero again, I think she is going to have a really big heroic moment in order to get that redemption, not just from the audience, but also to regain the trust from the other Avengers and heroes. So with that, I think there's a good chance that by the time we get to the end of Avengers Secret Wars, that Wanda will likely end up being one of the biggest heroes of that movie, who will likely play a pivotal role in not only defeating Doctor Doom, but also in restoring the multiverse and fixing existence, which again is quite similar to the role that Molecule Man played in the 2015 Secret Wars comic. Because in that story, Molecule Man played a very important role in helping Reed Richards defeat Doctor Doom, and he then played a very important role in helping Reed and Franklin restore all of the different timelines and universes in the multiverse. And in the MCU, with Wanda being a Nexus being who has these immense powers over reality itself, those reality-altering powers could make her the perfect person to help fix the multiverse at the end of the Secret Wars movie once Doctor Doom is defeated. And this is something that she could perhaps do by herself, or maybe it could be more of a team effort that included multiple characters, like perhaps Loki and Franklin Richards. Now, obviously, for something like this to happen, first, Wanda would have to regain her memories and be broken free from Doctor Doom's influence. Now, one possibility is that Doctor Strange could be the person who could help break Wanda free from Doctor Doom, but the person who helped her do that in the comics was Wiccan, Billy Maximoff. Because in the comics, Wiccan's powers over chaos magic were passed down to him from his mother. So Wiccan's magic and his abilities are very similar to Wanda's abilities. And based off of what we've seen so far in Agatha All Along, it's looking like it'll be the same thing in the MCU. So I could totally see a scenario happening in Avengers Secret Wars where we see a moment that's very similar to the one we saw in the Children's Crusade comic, where Wiccan is the character who has to save Wanda and break her out of Doctor Doom's influence and help her regain her memories so she can then go on to help defeat Doctor Doom and then possibly go on to help save the multiverse and recreate reality. So yeah, like I said, I don't think that a lot of the younger characters are going to have a huge role in the upcoming Avengers films, but the roles they do play could be very important to the plot of those movies. And when it comes to Wiccan, I could see that possibly being his important moment in the movie, in everything coming together and defeating Doctor Doom and all that. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think about all this. Personally, I think something like this could work out very well, because I think the Children's Crusade comic is a great story, and there's a lot of elements that I would love to see adapted into the MCU. And I do really like the idea of Doctor Doom and Wanda having a real relationship, because I think that could add a lot of depth to not only Doctor Doom with Robert Downey Jr., but also Wanda's character. So yeah, if they did it right, I think this could be a great move, and I do think it makes a lot of sense for Doctor Doom to steal Wanda's powers as the Scarlet Witch, and that could be how he will take on the God Emperor Doom persona for Avengers Secret Wars. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens as always, but I hope you guys like this one. Please subscribe to the channel and leave a like, but don't go anywhere just yet because we do have super thanks to get to. So let's get to those.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump into these super thanks. And we have 3 $5 ones from Gator Chris, Blackfire Warrior, and Paul Sanford. No questions with these, just generous super thanks. So thank you very much, Paul, Chris, and Blackfire Warrior. I really appreciate it. And then we only have 1 super thanks with the question today, but it is a long question with multiple parts. But this is a generous $20 from Aaron, and this one says, "Hey Tay, it's Aaron. It's been a while. How you living, homie? I hope you're doing well. So big questions. What's going on with Spider-Man 4? Sony wanted it to be multiversal, and Marvel wanted it to be street level. Now with Avengers Doomsday in the mix, is it both? Will we see a little bit of Venom and Null?" And then the second part says, "Do you think Wanda or Loki will replace the Molecule Man role in the comics for the MCU? I know you have speculated on both, just curious on your thoughts and if they have changed. Any idea if or when the MCU is going to announce other big projects like Shang-Chi 2, Doctor Strange 3, Thor 5, and Black Panther 3? Those are huge characters, and I doubt Marvel would not want to make those movies. I wonder which of them would be Battle World movies, or would some of them be after Secret Wars? Thoughts?" All right, so we got 3 questions here. So let's start with the first one on Spider-Man 4. And, you know, there's so many leaks and different rumors coming out right now with Spider-Man 4. And recently Tom Holland did an interview where he said he has read the most recent script for Spider-Man 4 and that it's really good, but that they're still working on it. It sounds like from everything we're hearing, it's going to be more of a multiversal movie with cosmic and street level elements. It's hard to know exactly what that means. I do have some of my own theories, but it does look like it's not going to be the street level, Daredevil Kingpin movie that we thought it was going to be 6 months ago, and that Marvel Studios may be saving that for Spider-Man 5 afterwards. And as far as the projects like Shang-Chi 2, Doctor Strange 3, Thor 5, and Black Panther 3, I think that Black Panther 3 and Shang-Chi 2 are definitely coming out after the multiverse saga is over. But I really hope that Doctor Strange 3 and Thor 5 will be a part of the multiverse saga and will come out in Phase 6. I think that makes sense, especially for Doctor Strange 3. And then as far as your question about either Loki or Wanda taking on a role similar to that of Molecule Man from the Secret Wars comics, obviously I just talked a lot about that in this video, and I am leaning towards Wanda, even though I have talked about both Wanda and Loki taking on that role in the past. But now I'm definitely leaning towards Wanda taking on that role, because I do think that Loki will have an equally important role to play in the upcoming Avengers movies that will be a bit different. So yeah, thank you very much for those questions, Aaron. Good questions. I like them. And again, thank you, Paul, Chris, Blackfire Warrior. Appreciate you guys. And yeah, remember, if you would like to leave a super thanks with a question or a comment on this video, that those are greatly appreciated, and that I will read and respond to those in the next video. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Subscribe, like, share the video. Check out any videos you may have missed, linked in the description down below. And I will be back soon with the next one.